Hi folks, my name's Jorn. We kind of met a little bit earlier and then I was quiet trying to keep some stuff in. This is not a vendor pitch. We're trying not to make it that way. It's a really short story, and my objective here is to talk about going from SysAdmin to SRE, creating capacity to make tomorrow better than today. In fact, if you go into the Google SRE books and the other SRE books, making tomorrow better than today is a mantra for you SREs. You SREs should be nodding your heads along with that. I also subtitled it Regifting Toil. That's actually bait. You shouldn't regift your toil. I want to make it absolutely positively go away. So a little bit of story time. In a company not far away, much like yours, probably very, very close, and probably this is you. It's you. You're probably in, some of you are devs, a lot of you are in operations, and you've got all this stuff going on, right? You've got tickets coming at you, you've got fires going on, you've got projects happening in your environment, emails, alarms, nobody can get a hold of you, you're busy, 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 it's job security, but now all of your burnout is technically actually a declared illness. So you saw that earlier today that, yeah, we are actually getting sick from doing all of this. And you're waiting in queues, and you're waiting for everything. This is kind of core to my talk. And you can either be one of these stick figures. You're either putting things into queues, and you're waiting for somebody else. And we have scientific research that proves that putting stuff into queues is bad. Waiting for people causes mismatches and errors and things going back in. But worst of all, it causes psychological damage. I've been there. I'll open a ticket for something that's important, and it gets ignored for 2 or 3 days. And the message to me is, my company doesn't give a damn about that as much as I do. And I stop caring about it because that's exactly the message that I got. Now, the person at the other end of the queue doesn't mean to do that. I've been in both places, usually at the same place at the same time. I'm now at 187 unread email messages from my own work, but people know why it's going on. You're also here. You're getting more and more and more interruptions, waiting for queues. Things are sitting inside of queues over and over again. Or it's this. It's the repetitive stuff. Things break. Somebody says, it's broken. And if you're in operations, you're dev, whatever, you're at the receiving end of tickets, you're, oh, this again. Oh, this again. Oh, this again. Same thing that's going on in your environment. We're all busy. It doesn't seem like things are getting any better. And this is the world that we live in. We're overloaded. We're waiting in ticket queues. Things are breaking over and over again. And everyone is busy. A lot of times we work in large organizations that seem to measure our value based upon how busy we are. I've worked in more of those companies than not. I'm so glad to get out of them, and there are companies who don't measure your worth that way. If you work at a company like that right now, get out. Come to events like this, network. You don't have to be treated that way. But what's happening is the executives are going, well, what the heck's going on? Right? We keep investing in things. We're buying all of the acronyms. We decoupled our apps. We sent people to NewOpsDays. We're doing all these things. What really happens most of the time that we've observed inside of our organization is that people are ignoring operations. Ops sort of gets ignored in the DevOps days, and you wind up with your executive who's mad that I've bought you all the acronyms and I bought you all the tools that you want. Why can't you get things together? Why can't you be more like these companies who are actually doing some of these really, really cool things? Target's doing very cool things from an operational standpoint. Standard Chartered Bank has a great story. Somebody was asking me for a success story earlier on today. And you're hearing about all these great companies. You're reading all of the really, really good books. In fact, I recommend the third one now that came out that's not just written by Googlers, but has some other people inside of it. And what's happening is people are talking about this magical unicorn called SRE. Right? Oh, I know what to do. It's SRE. Google's doing it. We should do it too. Everything will be magical. And so we come in and we've got sysadmins. You're in this room. I've been one. I probably still am one. And we figure out, I know what to do. I'll fix this. We've got a bunch of sysadmins. And we can make this better. We're just going to make them into SREs. Right? So here's Jane. And we just tell her, you know what? You're an SRE. Remember, like I said earlier, hiring by resume. Or like, we'll just give everybody a new job title. It's a great way to get hired out of the company, right? So we'll just put her and we'll give her a new title because sysadmins, they've got all this problem, the stuff I was just talking about. They're overloaded, the constant firefighting, things are breaking, everybody is busy, and now that I've got SREs, oh, it's the same damn thing. But I just changed their job titles. And what we're getting around to here is changing job titles or adding individual skills doesn't make sysadministrators SREs. You don't just become one. And I know who's an SRE in the room because there's some nodding out there in the audience, right? You just putting somebody in there and changing the way that she works doesn't just make it better. Like, oh, good, we'll put all these buzzwords in. I read some of the books, and now she's great, except that's still going on. So, that's no good. She's not an SRE. Changing her job title doesn't make that happen. So SRE, Site Reliability Engineer, is a rethinking of how operations work gets done. It is not just changing an operation down. If you're thinking about it, if you're skipping ahead in your brain in my slides, you're probably right. So because this is a 20-minute talk, we're shortening some things down. I'm taking some quotes from Stephen Thorne. He's over at Google, The Principles of SRE. There are 3 things that he boiled up to the top. This was at DOES in London about a year ago, right? Because DOES is coming up in a few weeks, isn't it? There's also one in Vegas, really good conference if you can get your company to spring for it. It costs a little bit more than this show, just a little bit more. But it's a really, really good conference. And here are some of the 3 things. The first thing is an SRE needs SLOs, service level objectives with consequences. And I'll be sharing some of these slide notes after we get done. So SLOs are different than SLAs. SLAs are contractual agreements. You've all seen them. And what an SLA is here's how awesome you're going to be, and you'll be penalized if you miss it. Remember, quality is job 1. Everybody gets that? Now go write code without any bugs and make sure the systems never go down. See, all we had to do was tell you, right? You on it? Good. No more bugs, no more outages. All done. We'll just tell you. An SLO in the SRE sense is a service level objective for the entire organization based upon uptime in your organization. And notice how that does not go to 100%. What we've decided as an organization that we need to understand, we need to be okay with making mistakes. Otherwise, it's the same thing as security. If I really want the most secure computer in the world, I unplug it from the wall and shut it down. Now nobody can hack it. If I want to evolve as an organization and try new things and push new code out and push the envelope, there are going to be some outages. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to have observability. We're going to figure out how to learn from them, and we're going to recover from them. But we got to decide as a team, as a company, what our SLO needs to be. And that is a shared responsibility amongst the entire organization. Up on top there in that error budget is the place where I have engineering time to improve the service. Make sense? So maybe I set that SLO at 80% or 90% or some measurable thing of uptime or how fast we can release. But the reality is that the entire organization has to be bought in on this, which means if the company is going to miss or is missing its SLO, development work stops. The marketing organization quits pushing new things to us. The C-level executives, everybody needs to pile in on this to help figuring things out. If that means devs have to carry a pager, devs have to carry a dang pager. We're all part of this SLO agreement for the SREs. This takes priority. The whole company has to agree on it. Point number 2, SREs need to have time, remember that slogan, to make tomorrow better than today. I should capitalize that and make that bold. So what does that mean? This is where we get to toil. This is where we're going to talk about what toil is. We actually have a chart. It's a word we've all heard. It's an English word, but this is toil in the SRE sense. Vivek Rao puts it out there very, very well. This is work that tends to be manual. It's repetitive. It is automatable, yet it isn't. It's devoid of enduring value. And it scales linearly as the service grows. You double your customers, you have to double your people. Toil, so when I talk about that repetitive and devoid of enduring value, those are snowflakes, right? You get a ticket, the thing is broken, you fix it, it's a snowflake. It's beautiful to behold, and there's nothing like it in the whole world, and it melts and you do it again tomorrow. That's toil. That doesn't mean your work isn't good and there's no such thing as no toil. If we put it into a chart, these things are polar opposites, right? Lacks enduring value, builds enduring value. There is repeatable, creative and iterative, you need your practical brain, can be automated, requires human creativity. What I'm doing for engineering work is I'm creating things that are reusable by somebody else in my environment, not things that are repeatable problems. And that's where then we talked about that SLO budget. I've got toil budgets inside of my environment. There we are there. There's engineering work, there's toil. There cannot be zero toil environment. In fact, I drew a line in the middle of that graph to actually represent Google has about a 50% toil to engineering work objective inside of their environment. And that's a manageable percentage of capability. Well, I bet you I know where most our folks are. I can't reduce toil because I ain't got no time for engineering work because I have so much toil. You are at a operational bankruptcy at this point. You can't get it back out of your environment. The downward spiral is inevitable. You get it past 90%, 95%, that depends upon your environment, you're going to lose the ability to fire back against some of that toil. And the third one, these all seem hard, don't they? SRE teams need to have the ability to regulate their workload. This one still gives me a headache in my tummy, or is it a tummy ache in my head? Anyway, this one's hard to grasp onto. These are 3 of those principles. And the ability to regulate your workload means if I'm an SRE, I have the ability to officially throw up the talk to the hand. I can say, you know what? We have exceeded our toil budget. We've exceeded our SLO, dear development team. I'm not stopping you from pushing it to production, but I am not volunteering my SRE team to take it on. So if you want to shove it out to production and say that it's ready to go, knock yourselves out. But we're not doing it. This is really, really hard to do. We're saying if handing off software to ops wasn't a right inside of your organization, that's hard. That's a cultural shift you've got to do. And most of the time, what we're doing is we're separating the running and prod from actually being run out. It's running. You said your code was great. Good luck to you, but we're not watching alerts for that because reasons. This is really hard to do. Most organizations have a hard time doing it. So those are those 3 principles, and they all sound really, really daunting. So what am I going to do with them, right? What's the practical approach? My job is to leave you with something that you can do today. That first one, that takes a company-wide shift, right? This is policies, procedures. I told you everybody in the company, all the way up to C-level executives and marketing and dev and everybody has to be bought on what the SLOs are. You can get there, but it takes a lot of work. The SRE teams, that one's hard. Being able to say you do not have the absolute right to put that on our SRE team. But that one, I think, is possible. I know it's possible. I know you can reduce toil. You have to just go out there and find it. So that's what I'm going to leave it. So why focus on reducing toil? First of all, because whether you're doing the whole SRE thing or whatever your job title is, that's something you can go after. You can find that definition of toil, look at what Vivek Rao said on the earlier slides, and go after those things that are toil. And the other thing is that people are expensive. I don't care what you bought. Your people are your most valuable assets. So let's go find some. We can track toil levels for each team. We can set a toil limit. So the first one, I'll give you some anti-patterns for that. Go track them however you want. This isn't quite as hard as it sounds. Maybe it's just the reasons things fell into tickets. Maybe it's stuff that like, hey, we could have automated that and that keeps coming in. I think ticket queues are a great way to chase things down. Again, conventional wisdom, toil engineering work, 50% is an okay target. There's always going to be the whoops. There's always going to be things that people need to do. There's going to be something that is such a one-off, it's not really worth automating. It's 3x order of magnitude just to automate it than it is to just go, yeah, click, 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 I can frob the goo. That's pretty easy. And then fund efforts to reduce toil. Now I'm talking about money, right? Or power or time. So you could refactor your apps. You could get new tools. You could get new processes to reduce that toil. Or you could apply a self-service design pattern. Gene Kim, and it was in January, what do you think's coming for 2019? One of the first things he said was self-service inside of the organization. And I say that to people, they go, yes, I've heard that, and everybody gets up, but what is that, right? What are those anti-patterns for toil? So let's look for them. I need you to frob the goo. All right. Frob the goo. All right. Do it again. All right. Most of you people in this room, that's what you do, right? Most of the time we're getting ticket queues. A lot of times this person here has a ticket open to them, and I want you to think about the tickets that come into your organization. Either the ones you open, the ones you are on the receiving end of. Most of us are on both. Most of them come to you because you have the password to the thing. Right? So you're not really helping the organization. You're in the way. Don't feel bad. You're not a bad person. You were put in the way. because of security requirements, because I can't give everybody sudo on all of these boxes. Although this is typically somebody who's more and more expensive. Let's fix that. That's toil. How about I create a way for this person who is asking to just get it done? And that doesn't need to be something I said for obligate. What if it's, hey, reboot the web servers? What if it's, I need to patch these systems, I need the authorization to do so? That's a reduction to toil. How about this one? Everybody familiar with this one? I know what to do. Too bad I can't get to it. I'm going to open a ticket and wait. If it's important, someone will get to it, right? And if they don't get to it, must not have been important. Again, I can put a self-service kind of paradigm in front of this. The people inside of that environment, the engineers who are doing it, just create some security boundaries for me, create self-service, put automation maybe in front of my automation, so that the person who knows how to do it doesn't have to worry about having access to the underlying infrastructure. They can just solve a problem. Loss of toil. Or this one, right? You're on call, you get rolled out of bed, it's 3:30 in the morning, and you're like, something's wrong, I'm gonna SSH into the box that's most likely got the answer to me. I log in and I fire up top, and there's 6 other people in my organization running top, right? We're all there wondering what to do with ourselves. And instead, and that's toil, right? You're getting a ticket and like, is it fixed yet? I was like, it takes me 25 minutes to diagnose it, and we're all piling into the same system running top. Pretty ridiculous. What I could do is write a procedure. Those things that happen to me when I roll out of bed at 3:30 in the morning and get the ticket and everybody else did, what are the things I do? I go tail the logs over here and do a TCP dump over there. I go look at these services. Maybe I go check something else. I write those automated procedures into something that I can use. Better yet, I give that system check out to maybe the tier 1, tier 2 NOC people. Let them run it. So if it gets escalated to me and I'm the tier 4 person, that 25-minute thing that I normally do when I roll out of bed is done. The self-service automated system says, hey, Jorn, here's that thing that you normally do. Here are the results of it from when the problem occurred. Or one more anti-pattern. Quick, does anybody know the answer to my fun question? What do people read even less than documentation? Oh, even less than those. No, we all read Twitter all day. Half of you doing it right now. Updates to documentation. That's like negative. It's like people unread updates to documentation, right? So if I tell, and we've seen this before, like we've got a service in place, I've been working at the company for 20 years, somebody says, oh, we need to make sure we set this flag on this system before you reboot things, or let's yank something out of monitoring, and I come along, I've worked here so long, I'll just do it, and something breaks. How about we do self-service, and I just change some of those flags up underneath it? How about if I got a whole automated procedure, I got automation in front of my automation, maybe I give myself the opportunity, and the people who wrote the service just change some things. So now when I hit a restart, all the things that were happening at the back end happen automatically. I get less alerts, right? Like if I'm going to go reboot a service, how about I take it out of monitoring first? Right? Or not. Like the knock is like, what did you do? We fixed things. Well, the alarms went off. You didn't tell us. Toil, not toil. Or this one. Here's an anti-pattern for you. Something's wrong inside of the organization, but dev people are more expensive than the ops. You got a workaround, use it. You have a documented workaround, use it. And every time this system breaks, you've got to go through the documented workaround that's updated on the wiki you didn't read in the first place. Because until the next release of the software comes out, we're not going to fix that. Well, why don't I just put that workaround into an automated procedure that goes on top of it? When things break, I know I got to bounce these 3 services over here, bring this other one up in order. I put my fix into one spot, and I create a self-service. Maybe self-service looks as simple as a button on a vending machine, or maybe I've got parameters around it that allow me to be confined inside of some guardrails, but now I've got self-service around that. So I'm going to drop a sentence on you. Self-service automation, 2 seconds. 2 hours? 2 minutes, okay. Self-service automation, but self-service automation. Self-service automation for all your automation, right? Hold on to that thought. It sounds a little markety ridiculous, but it'll make sense. And I'm wrapping up. This is almost my final slide. So this is how self-service works inside of your organization. I know Tom came by this morning, and he was actually describing the Netflix model of SRE very, very well. It's in those books. I probably should have drawn it out in the slide. So In the Netflix model of doing SRE work, we're putting operations people inside of each product team horizontally, so I'm not running from this silo to this silo to this silo. I've got ops people in, that's why he said get rid of your ops team. Didn't say get rid of your ops people. That's kind of the Netflix model. Google's model for SRE is they've got SRE people sort of at that edge, that it gets kind of handed over to ops, but they're feeding back into it another way. But the problem is either one of those models requires enough bench, enough human beings. I'm still gonna have subject matter experts. I can't just have them on every single team. So now I can do some cross-cutting knowledge that way. What I'm gonna do is first I'm gonna create pull-based self-service. This is what I'm talking about, self-service. I don't just wanna make buttons, because then these people creating this capacity are making specific buttons. I wanna put secure guardrails around people that let them do what they want to do. Very much in the DevOps way, accept the tools and the languages that people want to use. Do not drop new rules on top of them. Let them use their tools. If I got people who are Ansible at Die, but then I've got somebody who's Terraform over here, and if somebody else does Puppet and Chef for everything else, and Carl's got some hidden stuff in his bin directory that's going to go with him when he dies, that you can't have because that's why he's still got his job, let these people do that, but let's collaborate that all in one place so that people can pull on those tools. Security happens here. Define those guardrails. Put your security at the self-service so that we know that people who are pulling on that self-service are bound in by security, by audits, but they make sure that we've got the guardrails around them and that we've got the logging and the error checking inside of that. And that's where you put your security and compliance back inside of that. Here's my summary slide. You can't just be an SRE by putting an SRE on it. The 3 rules: you need to have SLOs, you need to be here to make tomorrow better than today by reducing toil, and you need the ability to regulate your workload. Set your budget limits, chase after. This is the place where I think you could chase after. Automate some of those things, put automation front area automation. Let people have self-service to updating servers, patching them, putting new applications out there very, very easily. So we're not just taking tickets because someone has the password to something. All you are is a bouncer at the bar. Most people are getting in. You're just checking IDs. If the answer is always yes, why are we always asking? Then apply a self-service model. Good? Make sense? How'd I do? 1 minute over?
You're fine.
Excellent.